Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 236. The length of a film should be directly related to the endurance of the human bladder. Alfred Hitchcock.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Welcome, my Indie Film Hustlers, to another episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Today's episode is brought to you by Black Box. Black Box is a new platform and community that is all about financial freedom for filmmakers like you. If you join Black Box, you will be transformed from being a worker to being a maker of your own content. And you'll be making steady passive income from the global market. Black Box currently allows you to upload your stock footage once, get it to many global agencies, and then allows you to share that passive income stream with your collaborators. Whether you want to submit old footage that's been sitting around in your hard drives or create brand new content, Black Box is for you. It's really quite revolutionary. With Black Box, filmmakers can concentrate on making great content while Black Box takes care of all the business BS. Just visit www.blackbox.global to find out more. Today's show is also sponsored by Studio Unknown. Studio Unknown is a crack team of audio post professionals known for quality sound on any indie budget. Whether you need a lush surround sound mix or a quick festival submission pass, Studio Unknown can help you with all of your post sound needs, from sound design and mix to Foley, ADR, and even a custom score. Contact Studio Unknown and mention the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, and you'll get 50% off one day of ADR or 10% off your complete post sound package. Just go to studiounknown.com. Now, today we have a very, very special episode of the Indie Film Hustle Podcast. I have on as my guest today, Qasim Basir, and he is the director of the film A Boy, a Girl, a Dream, which was accepted into the 2018 Sundance Film Festival. While he was there showing the movie, I was running around shooting on the corner of Ego and Desire. But we did not meet on the streets there. We met at FilmCon on the same panel, talking about directing and the business in general. And Qasim and I really hit it off, and I told him, man, I have to have you on the show. You have such an amazing perspective on the business, and I want to hear what it was like going to Sundance, doing all the things that you do at Sundance, and how he finally got his movie sold, how he made his movie, and how he got it off the ground, the whole experience of selling it to a big distributor, which he's going to be getting a theatrical release with it as well, how it felt not selling his movie at Sundance, and also just in general, topics that are really important in not only in filmmaking today, but in the world today. And we really get in this kind of raw conversation about the business, about both our perspectives from where we're sitting and watching the business grow and move in front of our eyes. And it is a very eye-opening and intense conversation, which is it was great. It was one of my favorite conversations I've had on the podcast. And I thank Qasim so much for putting it all out there in this interview. And I really, really hope you guys enjoy it. And it's a doozy. So please sit down and enjoy my conversation with Qasim Basir. I'd like to welcome to the show Qasim Basir, man. Thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
Man, it's wonderful to be here, man.
Yeah,
seriously.
Thank you, man. Thank you. We met on a panel at FilmCon, where we dropped some knowledge bombs and scared the shit out of a whole bunch of filmmakers.
I hope they stay with it, man.
I know we scared the hell out of them, but
it's no use sugarcoating it, though, man. It's no use sugarcoating it.
Absolutely not. But we did inspire a little bit. But it's still like a little. You give them a spoonful of sugar and then you punch them in the face, and that's kind of the way it is. You got to do both, because if you just give them the sugar, they're gonna get eaten alive.
Right.
So first of all, before we get into all the amazing stuff that's going on in your life right now, how did you get into the business in the first place?
Oh man, gosh, where do I start?
I was born a small boy. No.
Yeah, I was a young boy. So let me jump around to a few significant moments. One, I took a class in high school. I'm from Ann Arbor / Detroit, Michigan. Lived in both places when I was young. I took a class in high school. I fell in love with it. Never imagined I could make movies for a living. I didn't come up with much. I have 4 siblings. There's 5 of us. My mom struggled a lot. Making movies just seemed so far away, so big, so grand, not something I ever imagined. So I played it safe. I went to college. I played football. I have a degree in criminal justice and pre-law. From the time I took that class when I was 17, through college, I would make little films here and there, just playing around with friends in the neighborhood, stuff like that. The summer before my senior year, I was at a family reunion in Natchez, Mississippi. My cousins and I went to a party in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. On the way back, we got in a car accident. I flew through the window of the car and nearly died. And so I'm in the hospital, and this doctor, he keeps checking on me. And I had a nurse who was taking care of me, so I'm wondering why this doctor keeps coming in. And I'm like, just be honest with me. I'm a football player. I can take it. So he's like, you got these brain contusions, which are bruises on your brain. Sure. And within the next 48 to 72 hours, they could potentially swell, and you may not live. Oh. And so when you're 22 and you face mortality, it really does something to you. Or at least it did something to me. It was the most important moment of my entire life. It was the most significant moment, because I laid there and said, God, if I go from here in the next 2 or 3 days, I can't really think of much I've said to this world, much I've contributed, I just will be gone. And, I think I started calling people that I know, just kind of just in case, but I made it, but I committed in that moment to myself that if I make it through this, I'm going to do something that counts, something that matters, which is what led me to make the kinds of movies I make. Right. If you look at my body of work, everything I've made, I've tried to say something to the world that I think is important, and it's a thing about. So after that, I went back and I finished school. With that degree in criminal justice, that summer I had actually taken the practice LSAT, prepping to take the real LSAT for law school. I canceled my LSAT appointment, and I went straight for this movie thing, man. I just
so wait a minute, hold on a second. You literally went to law school. You're about to take the test to become a lawyer, and you're like, no,
I didn't. Not the bar.
Okay,
I didn't go to law school. I was about to apply to law. I was about to take the LS to law school admission test.
Okay, good. I was going to say, damn.
Yeah, I had taken the practice LSAT the weekend before. In fact, those books from the practice LSAT or from the real LSAT, because you go through this whole practice course and all this, were in that truck that I flipped over and were burned in the accident. It was such a sign. If there's ever a sign.
Wow. God wasn't subtle with you on that one, was he?
Not subtle. What is that? If you wrote that in script, I'd be like, man, that's a little on the nose. It's like, hey man, look, that's actually what happened.
So literally the car stopped, you flew through the window, and the books burned up. So God said, stop what you're doing.
The car flipped over. I shot through the side window, which in itself, the physics of okay, so imagine a car flipping, rolling over, shooting me through the side window, and the trajectory by which I had to fly at a 45-degree angle to go where I went and land where I landed. Because if I fly straight up, I come right back down to the ground, right? And I may not make it. Yeah. If I come out of the car as it's rolling over, it might roll over me, right? So the split second that I had to fly at this 30 to 45-degree angle to fly into the woods and land was great. And then my cousins pulled each other out of the truck, and then it caught on fire. I can't make this stuff up. And the books caught on fire.
And the books caught on fire. So God was telling you need to go make some movies.
so then, that was, so then I just started making it. I went back to Detroit, and I went through this period of sort of figuring out who I was. And, my football career was over. And, as a football player, you kind of take on this identity of, I'm tough, I'm this, and that. And now this is all gone. And, you survive something like that, and you look at the photos and the state I was in, it's all a lot, so I went through this period, and then I made a movie about it called Inner Struggle. That's
bit on the nose, right? Bit on the nose, but go ahead. Well, no. But when you identify so much with something, like when you're young, you do that because you're just trying to figure yourself out in general.
Yeah.
But when you identify yourself with, like, I'm the football player, or I'm this, or I'm that, and that's taken away, you are just lost. It takes time for you to figure out where you are.
Yeah. I mean, because 9-10 years before that, that's why everyone liked me. That's what I was, that's why I was popular. Whatever happened because of it, that was all of it, man. Like, I've, my high school went to the state championship, and we got the trophy, and we, that was who I was, and, so yeah, that was the beginning for me. And from there, from making Inner Struggle, and then I will show it wherever I could. And
how did you? So real quick, how did you did you finance it yourself? Did you just grab a camera and go shoot? Like, how did you put it all together?
So I didn't spend any. I just had a camera and some friends, man. Like.
And what camera was it? What, just because there's a specific reason why I'm asking.
It was a tape, like it was a.
Mini
actually,
DV?
hold on.
Was it a mini DV?
Yes, it was a mini DV. I actually have it around here somewhere.
It's not a DVX 100A, is it, or is it a Canon?
Can you hold on 20 seconds?
I can hold. Man, go look for it because we need to know.
Okay. Hold on. A Canon HV20.
Okay, so it's a Canon HV20. So it's just like an old school mini DV camera.
Yeah, it's an old school mini DV. It's not like I knew nothing about.
So the reason why I wanted you to go find out what it was is because I always tell filmmakers when they're like, I want to make a movie, but I need the Red camera, or I need the Alexa, or I need.
God.
Just grab a camera and go shoot your movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like especially when you're starting out, man.
Especially. Not only with that, but especially now, like, you had, this was an HDV camera, so you have the tape, and then you got to import,
digitize. You got to digitize.
Right. You have to digitize, and you have to, now you literally just drop that stuff in a, it's so much different. And with the equipment now, and with the affordability of it, it's like, it's crazy how much you can get done. But it literally was me and some friends got together. My brother was in the movie. Mm-hmm. My cousin played the villain, the antagonist, and we were around campus, like, shooting, and oh my God, it was a mess. Like, just the way we like, you had no
idea what you were doing.
No, I didn't. I mean, I just, other than that class in high school, I hadn't taken another class. I had taken one acting class in college because I was into that too, but it was just a grind of there were no permits. We just were shooting, right. And I don't suggest someone go and I think in the way of getting permits is different in different cities and stuff like that. But,
of course.
It was and I put a little movie together, and I would show it everywhere, and I pressed up some DVDs and sold them on the streets. I had them in. That's my awesome. Friend just reminded me, put up a post on Instagram or something. He just reminded me. He's like, yeah, man, remember we were in Cass Corridor, which used to be like dangerous, but now in Detroit it's all gentrified and like nice.
It's like Brooklyn.
Exactly. It's like, remember we used to be in Cass Corridor, and our movie, because he does docs, and he's still doing a lot of them, and his doc is on Amazon Prime, and my film just got picked up by Samual Goldwyn, so he put up a post. He's like, remember we used to have our movies at the liquor store on consignment, like we would just go and drop them off. Like, hey man, if I sell any of these, sell them for $15. Like the balls I had to try to sell my DVD
for $15.
15, but I had a sign over it just so people would know that I'm from here. Like, support a local, because people in Detroit, to see a DVD up there by a guy from there, that was more important than the quality of. They were just like, oh, this is amazing. A dude made this movie and he's selling it at this
Liquor store. Dude, I did the same thing with my first short, man, but I was selling in comic book stores.
Nice.
So
nice.
yeah, we all have to hustle, man. We all have to hustle, no question. So this year has been a pretty amazing year for you, 2018. Your latest movie, A Boy, a Girl, and a Dream, got accepted. I'm sorry?
Just a boy, a girl, a dream. There's no and.
Thank you, sir. A Boy, a Girl, a Dream. And that movie got into the Sundance Film Festival this year.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
You were there at the same time I was shooting my movie at Sundance.
Which the trailer looks terrific, by the way, man.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man.
I love that story of because so many of us go through it, just being at Sundance, trying to put something together. Oh my God, it's just brought up so much for me.
You're the demographic, dude. Like your filmmakers are the guys I made this movie for. But we were both there at the same time, and then we met later on. First of all, and also congrats on getting a distribution by Samual Goldwyn. You're going to get a theatrical release, dude.
Yeah.
Because it's not a guarantee. I always tell people, I'm like, just because you get a Sundance, there's no guarantee someone's going to pick it up.
Right. And that's important. That part is important, man. Just to understand, we left Sundance, we hadn't sold the movie. And in fact, it didn't sell till 2 months after,
so
and everyone's asking you, that's the first thing everyone asks you, like, oh, so did you sell your movie? Did you? And it's just like, wow, this isn't stressful at all.
And it's also not the 90s when they were buying movies left and right.
Right. It's literally Netflix didn't really buy much of anything. They bought
nothing. They bought nothing this year.
I think they brought a couple things later.
Okay. Amazon
was not non-existent, and so it's a real, it was a real thing, man, and we had to be patient, and we held out, and good on us for it. My producer Datari Turner, he was really intricate in that process of holding out. I'm like, this week's gonna be fine. We'll figure it out, and then Samual Goldwyn came back and. Man,
and you're good, dude. I'm good.
Huge, they're really a great company. They're really passionate about our film. They
tell us a little bit about your movie. Tell the audience what the movie is about.
Sure. It's two people who meet and go on this thrilling ride together, a journey together in one night, where they fall for each other. They challenge each other. They're both sort of stuck in different ways, and they kind of have this conversation about what do you really want to do in life, to be, and why aren't you doing it? A little intense conversation to have on the first night,
you think?
But what pushes that narrative forward, and I think what makes it kind of work is a lot of people. I think because it takes place on election night of 2016, and I think a lot of people. On that night or around that time, we're really taking inventory of where they were in life, and need to really figure out, my place in all this, and what I want to do, if I want to contribute, if I want to be a part, and so I think that element on its own really allowed them to have these much deeper conversations that maybe you wouldn't normally have when first meeting someone.
And then you also shot the whole movie in a oneer, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so first of all, what made you decide to try to do a oneer for this kind of film?
So a few things. One, I love oneers. I love
Birdman.
Taking an audience on a ride and that they can't look away from.
Sure.
Right. I love what they did with Birdman. In The Revenant wasn't a oneer, but they had these scenes.
Oh, yeah.
You would that first battle scene. You will look up and why am I so into this? Oh, it's because I haven't cut away. I haven't cut away to the wide explosion shot. I've stayed with them. I've fallen off a horse. I saw an arrow come. I'm ducking. I'm literally almost ducking.
It's VR. It's almost VR.
It's almost VR, man. And I'm like, it's the next best thing to the immersive experience of VR. And I love that kind of experience. And for where we are right now, as a country, man, it's easy to look away. And I think a lot of people are checking out. It's hard.
Easier. It's easier to check out than to deal with it.
Yeah, it's hard. This stuff is hard, man. You're almost afraid to check your Twitter feed or your news, and it's oh my God, what is happening today?
I don't know. I don't know about you, but I turned off my notifications.
No, I absolutely turned mine off, my push notifications.
Yeah.
I go to it when I want,
Yes.
because I can't deal, man.
Dude, every minute, like, oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't do it anymore.
And for me, it's like really understanding.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
How this stuff works with my consciousness, filtering how much I actually bring in. Sometimes that stuff fuels me, sometimes that kind of anger I have or disappointment I have or frustration with what's happening, it fuels my art, and so sometimes I overdo it. Sometimes I need to see that stuff. Sometimes I need to see another, young Black man. I never need to see another one of those, but like,
I know, I know what you're saying. I know.
Sometimes when that stuff, it hits me in such a deep place that I've been learning how to transfer that and say like, okay, and for this film, this was my transferring all of those emotions, how I felt about that election into this movie.
Now, if you look at it though from a point of view of history, when the Nixon thing happened, and the whole country went literally down the toilet, and everyone was depressed and angry. What came out of that was the 60s.
Right.
And the 60s and early parts of the 70s, which basically they changed everything.
Changed the world.
That decade changed the world.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to be pushed in another direction in order to snap back to another place.
Gosh, I can't wait till you see the film.
I'm dying to see it. I really can't wait to see it. But sometimes that happens. And when you go through these kind of, whichever side you're on, because it's different perspectives from both sides.
Yeah.
Some people like what's going on. Other people don't like what's going on. But at a certain point, you got to go to the opposite direction to be able to snap back to a place you're going to. And that's why I'm dying to see your film for what it is. And obviously that's, one of the great reasons it got into Sundance, because it's not easy to get into Sundance. It's a few submissions.
Yeah, it's a few.
There's a couple. It's a few at least.
Well, one thing I think is important here as we talk about that, people get disillusioned sometimes about the denial process. It's important to note that before I got this movie in Sundance, over the last decade, I sent 4 things to Sundance, which none got in.
Oh no, we're all there. We're all there.
So yeah, I'm sorry that this is my 4th thing that I sent to Sundance. So like I've sent some stuff there, man, and none of it's gotten in. And so I've seen those emails. Thank you for.
It was a really tough year. We had hard decisions to make this year.
We regret to inform you.
Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. That's basically it. So go fuck yourself. Good luck. No, they don't say that, but they're actually really nice. They're the nicest FUs you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Especially from the big festivals. Because they actually send out. The little guys don't even send anything out.
Yeah,
but the big festivals do.
It's true, man. It's true. You just see this announcement coming out, and you're like, damn.
So then, how did you? Okay, first of all, what was it like when you heard you got in? Like, what happened the moment you found out you got in?
So my fiance, who co-wrote this movie with me, she's always on me about my voice. Sometimes my voicemail gets full, and she's like, "You need to erase your messages." And I'm like, "All right, I'll get to it." And in this day, I listened to her and I erased my messages. And then the next day, I was working on something. I left the room, my office, and I came back and I had a message on my phone. Mm-hmm. And I looked at the message. On iPhone, you could read the text, mm-hmm. and it said like Sunday or something. I'm like, what? And I was like, it's from Sunday. I'm like, all right.
Like, Sunday's calling?
To it, and they were like, this is a woman named Shari Freelove. She was like, this is Shari Freelove from the Sundance Institute. I was like, oh my God. and then I immediately, without a moment, I was like, we got in. I know it.
Yeah, because they don't call you to say no.
They don't call. But there's sometimes they call you and they're like, it was so close. I really wanted to call you and just let you know. But there was something in me that was I just knew.
Oh my God.
And I called her back, and my heart was racing, you know. I was, you know, it's excitement in this business.
Man.
It's hard to get excited about stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like even when someone says, "Oh yeah, I'll do your movie," you kind of are like, "Okay, but let's wait till the money."
That's like 4 or 5 months away, and let's wait till the money drops.
Right, but this thing was like this is happening.
Yeah.
No matter, like, short of some natural disaster, you know, this is happening.
Right.
And I called, and she, sure enough, was like, "We'd like to, you know, we really loved your movie. You know, it was one of the most unanimously approved of," because they fight about movies a lot, you know, as you can imagine. There's a lot of programmers there, and your movie goes through these different steps. Some people watch it, and then more people watch it, and then if it, you know, and so it's like, it's such a rigorous process. But she was like, this was one of the most unanimously, like, I feel like everyone was like, yeah, for this. And that made me feel so good. And she made a few comments about the movie, and she was like, "We'd like to invite you to premiere at the 2018 Sundance Film Festival." And I you know, I'm a football player, so I took a knee.
Genius.
I took a knee,
right?
And I teared up a little, you know.
Of course, no, dude, no, you gotta blow out, man. No,
just a little bit,
man. You were sobbing like a baby. It's all good, man. It was like,
there might have been an allergy thing.
There might have been some snot coming down. It's all good. It's all good.
The Viola Davis.
You would Viola Davis snot bubble. That's genius. That's amazing, man. Because I've had a few Sundance winners on the show, and I always want to know what that feeling's like, because we all want that feeling. You know, as anyone listening to the show who makes movies, we all want to get into Sundance, man. You know, we all want to eventually one day win an Oscar, you know, or get into. We all want people to go, "I like you. I like what you're doing."
Yeah, and it's a great thing. It's you know, so I didn't after just to backtrack a little. After that first movie I made, Inner Struggle, I was like, my aunt who's in advertising in New York, she saw it, and she's like, "You know, you got a lot of work to do technically, but you know, there's something there. You got an eye. You know, you got angles. There's some things that you get performances out of people." And so I went on to, like, you know, read every book I could. I tried to, you know, everything I could do, all the information. I just was soaking it in, and I still do, man. I'm still everything I can to learn something. But you know, as a person who did not go to film school, you know, it's always to have something like Sundance under my belt now. You know, it means a lot, and to have, and I think it means even more that I tried to get in a number of times and didn't. You know,
feels better.
That moment was wildly significant for me, man. You know, I made a movie called Destined that came out late last year, which was in a bunch of festivals, won a number of awards, and like we premiered at the LA Film Festival and American Black Film Festival, where I won Best Director, and my lead actor won Best Actor, Corey Hardwick. You know, that movie was last year, and that one didn't get in, you know. So I had just gone through another Thanksgiving that Sundance ruined for me. So like,
bastards, right? They always do it around holidays. It's horrible.
A few Thanksgivings for me.
Tell me about it, man. Tell me about it. And then the worst is, like, when I was coming up, you know, I would submit a short film and it didn't get in, and then I'd go to the shorts block at Sundance and watch it. I'm like, shit, man, mine's is better than that one.
Yeah.
Man, well, how'd that get in? Just because a star is in it? Oh, man.
Yes, it's tough, man, to really understand why. Like, why certain film. There's a whole, you know, this. I don't know, man. It's a tough thing. It's tough.
Now, what was your Sundance experience like, man? Like, when you get there, like, you know, take us behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I've gone to Sundance a number of times before. 2 or 3 times, I think, maybe 3. But I said to myself in 2013 that I'm not coming back without a movie. I made that declaration, and I stuck by it. I just was not comfortable being there anymore, just like hanging out, and trying to, and it was just something I need to give myself declarations, I need to give myself goals or timelines or things like that. That works for me, so I've been there and it's been fun. But for this, I was like, I got to be honest, it was like stressful, man.
You couldn't enjoy yourself?
I did enjoy myself. Absolutely, man. I absolutely enjoyed myself. It was some great events. I met tons of people. Got a lot of great exposure, man. The team I was with was amazing.
And you get invited to all the parties. You're meeting all the stars, all the big producers.
And so, but then I'm like, the moment, like, so our premiere was until Monday,
right?
The Monday of Sundance. So you go through that first weekend, you're hearing about all the other films, and you are waiting in anticipation for, are people going to show up? Are they going to like the movie? Is it going to sell? Like, how's the sales agent doing? Are they getting people to come? Like, so all of that is happening, and then the movie plays, and it was one of the most, I was like drenched in sweat because I was so nervous while it was playing, and I'm not normally that nervous with things, but
dude, it's Sundance, but I get you.
Stage on, and so you're thinking technically, and the volume was kind of low, and the girl's next to me, and I'm constantly telling her like, pump it up more, and the lead actor Omari Hardwick was sitting behind me, and like, here's Meagan Good like next to it, and I'm just like, oh man, I hope they like it. They hadn't seen it, so Omari kept saying stuff to me throughout the movie. And it was just like, oh my God. But as it started going, people were laughing and sniffling, and there were moments that I didn't know people would laugh, that they did. I was like, oh, that's great. The stuff was working, and then people stood up after the movie and clapped. And
that must have been amazing.
It was,
what theater, by the way? What theater did you premiere in?
The Library Theater.
Okay.
Yes, the Library Theater. So it was about 600-700 seats.
Nice.
Which was amazing, man. It was packed. It was, you couldn't get tickets to our movie. And then we started to have good buzz around the festival, and people were talking about it, and people were coming up to me, and, but I would say for the next like 24, 36 hours, I had a great time. Our party was amazing. Tesla was one of our sponsors for our party. So like,
of course they are. Why wouldn't they be?
Of course, right? So Tesla literally had for each one of us, for me and
no, don't tell me they gave you a Tesla, bro. I'll be
gave us a Tesla.
No, they did not.
The driver, yeah.
Oh no, not like give for good, like
God, God.
Like at the festival, right? Like festival.
Oh my God, no.
I was gonna say, if Elon's just handing out Teslas at Sundance,
oh my God,
I'm gonna be pissed.
Dude, that would have been. Yeah, but no.
But while you're there, so you had like a Tesla with a driver.
So for that next day, until that night, up until like midnight.
Take it.
Yeah, so I'm just like going all these like, let's stop here, let's stop, and we had the ones with the Batman doors that fly up, and it was.
So were you jamming were you driving by with the windows a little down low and just like bumping the music?
No, actually we were in our own world. We were in our world, man. We were just like chilling out.
That's so fun. That's awesome, dude.
And so for that it was great. Like we had an after party, and we had this room where we went with the actors, and we all just kind of talked to each other. It was a moment of acknowledgement for everyone, and to just because you get so much time for your Q&A, and it's kind of quick, and you got to get out of there. But that was our moment to really, for people to acknowledge each other, and it was beautiful, man. And so, but then the next day it's back to I'm back in my head again. Asking my producer every 10 minutes, so like, who's making offers for the movie? Who?
When's the next screening? Right.
Yeah, and then there's the next screening, and then there's you go through the whole thing again. So it was intense, man. It was very intense, but I'm super grateful, man.
And you were there the full 10 days?
Yes, I stayed the whole time.
Oh, that's brutal.
We stayed the whole time.
Brutal.
And yeah, but each screening got easier. It got a little easier, and we left the festival with 4 offers for the film, but we were a little disappointed at the number. They were a little low, but then we we held out, and people came through and came back, and
Now I hear there that I know I think this is real. It's happened other years. Did you get to go to Robert Redford's house and have lunch?
Yes, yeah, we did
the director's bus.
Yeah, the director's brunch. They put us on a bus,
right?
And we go up to some mountains,
right?
A couple hours, hour and a half drive, and you're on the bus with the other filmmakers. You get to kick it and talk, and it's beautiful, man. It really is.
And what was it like when you saw Bob? Because I know him.
he's a terrific guy, man. You could tell he really cares about this stuff, man.
Right.
And to hear some of his stories about back in the day, and
sure.
just the trials that he went through, and man, people gotta realize, man, this, like, everyone who's become great at this, like almost sure there's been nepotism, this and that, whatever, but like most people who are doing this on that level, man, are like, have gone through it, man.
Oh,
and you see the great parts, and you see them on red carpets and in their movies, but like, it's the stories before that I'm interested in, man. And for him to talk about some of those, and that's the stuff that really still resonates with him. He didn't talk about, the last 20 years. He talked about the first 10,
Mm-hmm. When he was just trying to hustle. He was hustling like everybody else.
Yeah.
That's
movies that bombed a couple,
Oh, he's had a few.
Did not think he would come back from, but did.
Wow, man. So, all right. So you shot this whole thing in a one-er. Technically, how the hell did you do it? And did you do it kind of like Birdman style, where you did magical cuts, or
this is real? This is real. So it's a mountain, right? It is a mountain of work, of
prep,
me and the DP became really good friends.
You got to be
because he was over my place constantly as we were. We had maps, we had photos, we had, we went to the locations and took video we had a small camera that we would just shoot stuff on. We would get in the car and drive up and see how long that drive would take, and go to Mel's Diner, which is where we shot our diner scene, and go to the club that we were going to shoot at on a normal night for work. We weren't at the club like hanging.
Right.
But I'm like telling my fiance, oh no, I'm going to this nightclub
exactly.
to work. But yeah, so we would go to this club and like see what it felt like, and move around there. And man, by the time and I had, I'm on the phone with Meagan and Omari just constantly having these three-way calls, and whenever we would get a location, my fiance was actually also a location manager, and she working with her and Datari on locking down locations. And by the time we got to the shoot, man, it was like we knew. We knew exactly where to go. We had the backup plans. We had the backup plans. We kind of thought about everything, everything we could think about. Like, okay, what if, we had we had a bunch of PAs, because we knew we would need people to just be out on the streets in case someone tries to run up to Omari Hardwick or Meagan Good and get an autograph, as we're shooting. Like, that's a real thing. Like,
you're in LA.
We're in LA, and these people are pretty famous, Omari's going to his 5th season of Power this year, and Meagan is everywhere. And, so it's really something that just was all about the prep. I mean, we had a rig on the DP, and you can go on our social page.
I've seen it.
IG, where it was this anti-gravity rig that was modified for the shoot. You know, we had to get an additional number of batteries to hook up just so that the camera could last that long. We needed to, you know, the memory cards added extra memory to the camera. The rig, which the whole device itself was 30 to 35 pounds. So the rig took that weight off of his arms and put it around his waist, you know. So, you know, it would do these moves where it could go up to 9 feet high and all the way down to the ground without him.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Feeling that in his arms, which, you know, I don't know anyone who could carry a camera. You know, imagine like a steering wheel, like it's in front of you,
sure,
holding something for 35, you know, for more than 5 minutes, 10,
not let alone 90 minutes.
Yeah. So all of that, we would practice in these parking lots from these high schools, these high school parking lots on the weekend, where me and Steve Holleran is the DP, where we would go out with the team, the camera crew, and practice the dismount, because there were moments where the team would have to dismount, take the camera off the rig.
Oh.
He would unbuckle the rig, take it off of his person. Then they would hand him the camera back so that he could hop into the vehicle that we were getting.
And you're doing it seamlessly.
We're doing it as we're going, but in order to make it look natural, we had to practice that move, you know, hundreds of times. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating.
I'm sure.
So, like, you know, because the first couple of times it's like this, it's sort of this jerking thing when it comes off. So you gotta do it so that it's smooth. And, you know, I mean, I could talk about that all day, but it's all about the prep, man.
So you did this in an actual oneer. You didn't do a Birdman where you cut.
Right.
So it was an actual oneer. So at least post is easier.
Well. So
the editing is quick.
Here's the thing. Post. So when you're doing a oneer, you have. So for example, repositioning the camera.
Sure.
If you edit in Premiere Pro, or anyone knows Premiere Pro, there were probably 1,000 keyframes.
Oh, I know what you're saying. Yeah, because you're reframing stuff.
Because we were everywhere in reflections. You know, because there's 4 or 5 people behind him, you know, constantly moving. LA, there's mirrors, there's windows everywhere. There's, you know, we're on Melrose Street Ave. The club we were in, there were mirrors everywhere. Like, so I would constantly see my face and this arm or whatever.
A lot of VFX to clean stuff out.
So there was a lot of that. Yeah. So there was a lot of repositioning. There was a lot of, repositioning, a lot of
cleanup work, like VFX cleanup work.
Some stabilization. There was some, and then there was issues of like noise, and I did a lot of this post on my own, you know. But you know, you get this program called Neat Noise, right, where you have this effect that takes ages to render, and like this is stuff you don't really know about. Like you think about a program that's going to take away noise, you're like, oh, I'll just drop that on at the end and we'll be good. Like, and it's like this rendering process takes longer than anything I've ever seen. Like it's longer than stabilization. It's longer than putting a color effect on. I mean, it's ages. So it's stuff like that, the little sort of tedious technical stuff that took most of the time.
So you still had to do a lot of post, but not editing.
Right.
But there was a bunch of other stuff to do. Now, how did you get such an amazing cast, man?
Well, that I can really attribute a lot of that to my producer. Is you know, it was a matter of us calling folks, man. So backtrack a little bit. At ABFF with my last film, Destin, American Black Film Festival, I won Best Director, and Omari Hardwick was the ambassador of the festival.
Okay.
2016. And so, that night before was also my birthday, and I was hanging out, and, we hung out together. Mm-hmm. And Omari's familiar with my first couple movies, and he's a terrific guy. And I mean, one of the best people I know in this business. And, he, and one of the most talented as well. And he knew about my work, and, I had been talking to him, about doing stuff over the years. I'd seen him at Sundance a couple years before, mm-hmm. And so I gave him a call, man, and it's like, hey man, I got this crazy idea. I think, Omari Hardwick he's a theater guy. He's a poet, he's good with improv, so that kind of stuff matters when you're shooting a one. You need actors who are going to show up and know the entire screenplay, so someone who has that kind of background is able to shift on the fly. Mm-hmm. By having that theater background was really important. The producer, Datari, he's good friends and business partners with Meagan Good. They've done a number of projects together.
Got it.
And so, he called her up, and then we all met up, and, Meagan and I had been talking about another project years before. And so there had been some familiarity there. And then, the rest of those cats were basically a call from Datari, and, mm-hmm. and we had a casting director on who helped with some of it. But, it was a lot of sort of favor pulling.
Relationships, man. It's always about relationships, man. Always about relationships.
Now, those relationships are forged by, just being out there, man. Yeah. You figure out these circles, and you go to film festivals, especially, man. Film festivals, you have more access to actors and all that than I think anything else you do, mm-hmm. Because people are just there specifically to do that. And they're used to people coming up and talking. And it's not like seeing somebody at a restaurant and walking up on them, which can sometimes be off-putting and frustrating to actors. But you're at a film festival, it's fair game, man.
It's like, look, man, you're here.
Yeah, you're here. So
it's like Sundance. Like Sundance, I always tell people Sundance is like Disney World, but instead of characters running around, there's celebrities.
Right.
They're all there, everywhere. Like first time I went, I was like, oh my God, there's that person and that person and that person and that person. And the first time I went, all I did was take pictures. I was like such a fanboy back in like 2005.
Yeah,
it was crazy. Now since Sundance, man, you must have been making the rounds around town.
Yeah, man.
What's that like, man?
It's been wonderful, really getting to know everyone, and really I'm figuring out what my next project is. Mm-hmm. I would say I feel really good that in retrospect, sometimes you don't know why things are happening the way they are. Like you could look at an email from Sundance a couple of years ago and be like, damn, I didn't get in. I feel terrible. Mm-hmm. Maybe this isn't for me. Mm-hmm. Whatever. But I looked at it and said, all right, well, let me keep writing. Let me keep grinding. Let me keep putting ideas down. So that now I'm at this point where I'm meeting everyone, and I have like 3-4 things, mm-hmm. that are ready to go. Like you want to, which one, what are you looking for?
Just add a check and we're good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm like, here's some stuff I've done already. I just left Sundance. We just sold our movie. Here's some things I want to do. I'm also reading a bunch of scripts. I have read a bunch of scripts in Sundance. But I'm sort of finding what's right for me. I'm being very intentional about making the next project the right one, making it, I've really begun to figure out specifically what my voice is, and so I feel like I needed to go through all that to be at this point now where I sit in those meetings, like really comfortable with where I am, with the stuff I have to do, with with what I don't want to do, I've been presented some stuff that I'm not interested in, and I'm fine with that. It's not I don't know if I would have been that way 3-4 years ago, maybe. But the confidence I have now in this idea that I know exactly what I want to do, and if there's a company that wants to get behind some of the things that I am doing, then great, let's go.
Right, and that takes time, man, to get that confidence.
Yeah.
Without question. Now, what made you essentially want to tell stories? And what draws you and keeps you interested in telling stories as a writer and a director?
Man, okay. I would say that I was raised Black and Muslim, right? And I was probably the two most feared demographics in this country. Right.
Yes.
So
not a good situation. I get you.
Yeah. So it's like I've seen a level of, and I'm I don't like to sound like a victim. I'm not a victim.
Of course.
I use my experiences to empower me. I say like all this stuff I've been through, I'm going to use it and turn it around. But I've seen a level of ignorance that creates an amount of fear that makes its way into discrimination, into hate, into racism. Being raised the way I was, I saw a lot of that. From the time I was a kid, pushing carts in a grocery store, at a grocery store parking lot, where I passed by a woman's car and she locks her door. And in my mind at 13, 14 years old, I'm like, oh, she's about to leave. She locked her door. And she sits there looking forward with her eyes wide. And I'm like, oh, wait, she's not leaving. Oh, shit, she's scared of me. And then it being ingrained in my mind at a young age.
Right.
Damn, I'm scary. Like, okay, I guess, so maybe let me try to soften myself. Let me talk a little softer, let me not talk with this deep resounding voice, right? Like, let me oh no, I'm so literally going through a life almost apologizing for who I am, right? Like just subconsciously, like the 100 times a day, I'm like, no, I'm not scary, right? Like the first time, and as a kid, I worked all the time. And I saved $1,000 when I was 16 to buy my first car, which is a huge accomplishment.
Oh, yeah.
Day one of driving said car, I was stopped by the police, and within 10 minutes on the hood of that car, as they searched the car.
And this is in Detroit?
No, it's in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
Now, completely embarrassed. In the town I'm living in, where I'm this, good student athlete. Now, I say all that to say, between that and post 9/11, the way people shifted their perception about Muslim folks, which I've never seen anything as quickly and as drastically as the change in perception about a people, that has been promoted and really pushed down people's throat in the media. That's come after, right? So you got people in their homes or at the movies where a lot of this country is actually pretty segregated, right? So you have people, the only access they have to a person of color, to a Muslim person, to a gay person, whatever, is what they see on TV or in the movies, right? And if you look at the history of film, and as a Black man, and I look at the history of film for Black people, right? For 120 years, literally one type of person was telling the story for everyone. Right. So literally one type of person who's not connected to my community at all was telling the story of my community, but only the most violent, extreme, and polarizing elements of who we are.
Right. Which and there are in all cultures and in all areas.
Exactly. So and that's what I'm getting. I'm speaking from my culture because but yes, for all culture, for Asian culture, for Hispanic culture, you're like telling just these elements and then wonder why you have a society that's terrified of these people, that now when they pull these people over, end up shooting these people because they've been fed all of these images that are terrifying.
Of course.
And you never show the beautiful parts of them, the normal parts of them falling in love, so that just started happening 20, 30 years ago, right? With the emergence of Spike Lee and Singleton, who consistently started making movies and saying, like, actually, we're normal people too. We're this too. We have families,
We have hopes, we have dreams, of course.
We have hopes and dreams. We go to school, like, shit. We get married, like,
It's weird to even say it. Like, it should
people
be.
Never see that.
People
never see. I spoke at a school in Chicago last week, and I said, has anybody in here seen on screen a Muslim dude hug his daughter? And no one could say that. Mm-hmm. And I said, how many people have seen a Muslim dude as a terrorist on screen? Everybody raised their hand. So how many have seen 5? Everybody had their hands raised. 10. Few people put their hands up. But these images that you put in people, they mean everything, man. And it's a long answer to your question of why do I do this? It's like, we got some balancing to do, man. Like, it's okay to have a gangster movie or a movie highlighting the pain we go through. But I think we need to have a balance, and it's really imbalance for certain people in the way of the perception of and the displaying of us on screen and in TV. So for me, one, I love this shit. I love this shit, and I feel like, for me, if I didn't do this, I don't know, I probably wouldn't be alive. I probably would. I can't even imagine a life not doing this shit. Like, this is my love. It's my therapy. It's my, I've been through a lot in my life, then my fiance told me, she's like, Qasim, if you didn't do this, you'd probably be crazy. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm already a little crazy, but she's right. If I didn't do this, if I didn't write these stories and then talk about them and then put them out and see how other people feel about them, and I'd probably be nuts. So one, I love it too. I want to contribute to the whole, so that these images can, when someone watches something on their screen at home, they are literally inviting you into their home and these characters to say a thing to them,
right,
that could essentially change their fucking life, man. Mm-hmm. It could literally put something in their heart or their mind or their spirit that says, I look at this group of people differently now. I'm going to make a choice to be different to them when I see them in real life.
And that's what art can do.
It could change their life. It could change their life.
Yeah, that's what art can do.
Yeah.
Without question. Now, let me ask you, because I'm Cuban from Miami. Yeah. Right. So anytime I say something Cuban, everyone's like, "Oh, Scarface."
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if you're older, "Oh, Ricky Ricardo."
Right.
And that was the image of Cubans,
right?
To a certain extent.
It's imbalance. It's an imbalance.
And by the way, one of the most famous Cubans of all time is Italian, which is Al Pacino. Right. Which is, he did fantastic, but still, you know what I mean? So I get it to a certain extent. I mean, not to the extreme that you're talking about, but I feel you. I feel you 100%.
Man, you had people back in the day, like black. They didn't even have black people in the movies.
Oh, no,
they had blackface.
Yeah, blackface. Yeah.
Can you imagine
the Al Jolson story?
The president of the United States in 1915 put his fucking stamp on The Birth of a Nation. Yeah. Like a movie that celebrated the fucking Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
The president of the United States said, this movie is amazing. Like, this is
the Black Panther of its day.
Right.
This is the Black Panther of 1915. I gotta say, dude, I get you, man, and God bless you, man, for doing the good work that you're doing, man, and I do think things are changing.
Absolutely.
Things are changing. Women directors are coming out. People of color are getting more opportunities.
Yeah.
And there's plenty for everybody.
Absolutely.
And there's plenty for everybody, and and I know a lot of people who listen to this show are from all over the world. There's always perspective, and that's what film is about.
Let me be clear.
Yeah.
Let me be clear. I am wildly hopeful. right?
Mhm.
There has been massive change, and it is something for a movie like Moonlight to win Best Picture,
Right.
for Jordan Peele to win, Best Screenplay,
Mm-hmm.
for Ava DuVernay to be doing what she's doing, for Ryan Coogler to be doing what
Greta Gerwig
Greta
to get
Gerwig
it.
to be
Yeah.
doing what she's doing, for all of these folks and all of the kinds of shows that are on TV now, for Atlanta to be on, for
Oh God, yeah. Empire.
Insecure, for all these shows that are just saying, hey, we're quirky, we're different, we are that don't have to be like, oh, I'm gonna go shoot everybody at the club, it doesn't have to be, I'm gonna burn, it's so I absolutely see and am hopeful for what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thrilled to be a part of it, to be on this ride, man. This is like, I look at my parents who were in, like, my mom's, from Natchez, Mississippi, who was very close to the civil rights movement, and
Mm-hmm.
all the shit they went through. And I look at this as our movement, like, just given all this stuff that's going on in the country, and everyone fighting for equality, man. Like, nobody's
Right.
trying to say like, oh, we want everything.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show.
Well, people just want people want to say, can you, if anybody could say, look out to this country right now and say everyone's equal, call me, please. Like, let me know how you feel that way.
Yeah.
But like, people just want to be, so to see people, do in their own ways. And I look at what's happening in film right now as sort of a revolution, right?
It is.
Film and TV.
Yeah.
And it's and that's our revolution. People are still marching in the streets. You see the kids marching now. You see the women's march. I was at the women's march in LA.
Mm-hmm.
You see all of it's part of it. It's happening on Twitter. It's happening in the movies and TV. So I am thrilled about that, and I'm incredibly hopeful, man.
Absolutely, man. I agree with you 100%. And the power of what stories can do. Stories have the power to change minds and change the world. And they have again and again and again throughout history. And I think we are in a very interesting time to be alive, without question. So I'm gonna do a little rapid fire questions I ask all my guests. What advice would you give a filmmaker wanting to break into the business today?
I would say a couple things. Keep yourself intact. You're going into the NFL of professions, right? Like, if you look at all the professions and you say, oh, movies, like, if you look at an NFL player, his whole life, like, he's going to do everything he can to make sure he is ready and prepared to go out on that field.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same way with this, man. I think this business puts people through more things than most, more stress than most, more pain than most.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say keep yourself intact, I mean,
hold on tight.
whatever that means for you to strengthen yourself to go into this business, and just be patient, right? And also keep people around that are going to be honest with you, right? Like, enablers are great. Like, somebody telling you you're great is great. You need that kind of encouragement, like your mom, your family, your friends. The people that are like, yo, maybe you should work on this. Here's how this could be better. Who give you good notes on a script. Who, like, that's the kind of, make sure to have those kind of people around, because you will go years and stuff won't be working. And they'll say like, oh, they're just, your enabler friends might say, oh, they're just hating on you. Or maybe it's just not that good, The quality of stuff is increasing. Stuff is getting better. Like,
oh yeah,
you gotta be able to compete. So like, having those people around that are gonna be real with you and be honest with you, and that part isn't easy, man. Hearing people say that stuff, and it's still not easy for me, but I know it's necessary. So those are the two things.
Can you tell me what book had the biggest impact on your life or career?
Wow.
I told you some Oprah shit, man.
That's a good one. The Power of Now.
Oh yeah, what a great book. Eckhart
Tolle. Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle, man.
Yeah.
Great book.
So he it was a time where, because, so for me, there's not much of a separation between what I do and my person, right? Like my life is film, it is this stuff. I'm always thinking about it. It's everywhere. Mm-hmm. As I grow as a person, my work also grows. That book came along at a time where I was just beginning to understand the power of presence, of consciousness, and this journey that I've been on to constantly try to be more conscious and be more aware. I find that the closer I get on this journey, the more significant my work becomes. It's bar none. It is, along with the studying and the, I'm subscribed to 20 different film channels on YouTube that you can learn tons of stuff. Oh my
God, so much information out there.
Man, there is so much. I've wanted to become better at my camera and cinematography knowledge. So the cinematography database is like amazing,
Off the chain.
and just, because that's an area a few years ago I wasn't as strong in. So like, so it's that kind of stuff. For me, I'm doing all of that, but like in terms of my person, the more I develop me, the better I'm going to become as a director, the better I'm going to become in all those areas. So that book really was one of the early books on that topic, and I found that it had a drastic impact on my outlook in my life.
Man, anytime I study that card a lot, and whenever you hear him talk, it's just like. Yeah, every sentence you've got to kind of like digest.
Yeah.
There's no fluff with him. Like it's so dense.
Yeah.
It's a dense message that he puts out. What is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film business or in life?
I think patience.
Yeah, man, that's a popular one on the show. That's mine, by the way.
Yeah. I think patience, man.
Patience.
Because, and with that, I've lost some years, I've lost some years, when I moved to New York, after Detroit, it was, I was probably 26, 27, and I was like, I got to get this done now. I got to, and I just missed a lot of stuff. I would go to events and my mind would be so singular focused. I would forget to have fun. I lost some years of fun. My fiance now in my mid 30s, she's like teaching me to have fun. And I kind of get emotional thinking about it. Cause like, I really, when she asked me like, well, what do you like to do, Qasim? Like just for fun. I'm like, I don't know. Like
watch a movie.
Yeah, watch a movie. Like
watch a movie. Watch 5 movies, right?
Like, what? Because I spent, that was just all I was doing, man.
Yeah, I know that. I was the same way. I was the same way.
It's so I would say just patience and enjoy the ride, man.
Enjoy it.
Ride is like if you are doing the work, like not to say like don't grind, because that part is
you got to
necessary, but please carve out time for you to enjoy it and the patience. Like I talked about Robert Redford when I was at the lodge for Sundance. He's what, 80,
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about the time before he popped off, that time is the stuff. That's the stuff, man. If you hear any of these guys in these interviews or women talking about their journey, they're talking about that time when they used to sleep on the couch with their friend,
is that the most interesting stuff?
It's the stuff, man. So it's like, okay, this is more for me to talk about when I'm being interviewed or when I'm, but right now I got friends that friendships that I could develop. I got, relationships that matter. I while balancing that with the work, because the work is vital. And all of that stuff, though, the trappings, it's all a byproduct of the work, man. If you think about it like this, one screenplay it is written by one or two people, maybe. And then it starts with those people or that one person, let's say one person in a room having, going through whatever your writing process is. Like for me, it's crying, it's sleepless nights, it's crazy music. Some is tormenting. And
I can see, you know what? I can see that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
that makes absolute sense for you. I don't know why, but it does.
That's funny. That's good. But so then from that script, then you get producers involved and their people. Mm-hmm. Then you get a team involved to make the movie, which is maybe 40 people. That's a smaller movie. Then all of the actors and those actors' teams. So if you have 10 actors who each have 5 people, 50 more people. Mm-hmm. And then there's the so let's just say with any given movie, it starts with just that one idea, that one person who then makes a whole ecosystem of people and events and stuff surrounding a thing. But it all starts with that work, and that work takes patience, and it takes
It takes a lot of love, man. And I would go even farther to say that you got to love the grind. Because if you could love the grind, man, it makes the trip a lot easier.
Yes, absolutely, man.
So what are three of your favorite films of all time?
Children of Men.
Great movie.
Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, Guillermo. I'm so happy he won this year. He's so deserving.
That was good, man.
I've hung out with him. I've hung out with him 2 or 3 times, and he is just the coolest.
Yeah.
Curses like a sailor. But just so awesome of a human being, man.
Yeah.
And what's the third one?
Oh gosh, man. This is tough.
Don't worry. I mean, it's not going to be on your gravestone. I mean, just
No, I know. I'm just like trying to. Let me think. It's just so many films that have had impact. I really do this, I really
just bring them down to a list.
All right, so I'll say Fight Club.
Man, goddamn, man, we can hang out. Fight Club is one of my favorites.
Fight Club,
and I've actually had Jim, the writer, Jim Wool's on the show, and we've become friends. And when we if you listen to that podcast, first 30 minutes are like, so how's David Fincher? So what's David Fincher like? I completely fanboyed out about it. It was insane.
Right. It's amazing.
And then, so where can people find you on social media or anything like that? If
I'm at Qasim Basir, which is QASIM A and B as in boy ASIR.
Very cool, brother. Man,
Qasim Basir.
This has been an awesome interview, man, and it's been a great conversation. Very inspirational. I hope the tribe takes a lot out of this, man. So thank you for sharing your time, brother. I really
thank you, and I really mean it when I say I truly appreciate what you do, man. This stuff really makes a difference for folks, man. So keep at it, man, and keep at the work. And all right,
thank you, brother.
Thank you.
I did tell you that this was going to be an intense episode, and it was. Qasim was so raw and so real about his journey and about what he's gone through in the business and his life. And I'm ever grateful that he shared that with us on this podcast. So thank you, Qasim, so much for being you, sir. And you keep up the good work as well, and keep putting up the good fight, and keep making those amazing films. And I cannot wait to see your new one, A Boy, a Girl, a Dream. It sounds amazing, and I did not have time at Sundance because I was busy to catch a screening, but I can't wait to see it in the theaters when it gets released very, very soon. Now, if you want links to anything we talked about in this episode, head over to indiefilmhustle.com/236 for the show notes. I include links to Qasim and his Twitter and all that kind of good stuff, and you'll be able to see some clips from his movie, A Boy, a Girl, a Dream. And again, guys, thank you so much for such an amazing response to the new podcast, A Bulletproof Screenplay. It has been, it's growing so fast, and I cannot even explain how excited I am that you guys have really liked it. So many subscribers have come on board, and a great review. So if you have not subscribed yet and you're interested in screenwriting and storytelling, then just head over to screenwritingpodcast.com. And if you can, leave us a good review. It really helps out the show a lot, especially when we're just starting out. So it helps us with the rankings on iTunes. And please, if you like what we're doing here at Indie Film Hustle and at Bulletproof Screenplay, and you really enjoy the content and you find the value of it, please tell 5 friends. Everybody should go out and tell 5 friends, hey, listen to the podcast, go to the website. And that's the way we're going to be able to grow the tribe, grow the community, and get this information out there and hopefully help so many more filmmakers and creatives in the world. So I need your help. I can't do it alone. So as always, guys, thank you, and keep that hustle going, keep that dream alive, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.